In less than 24 hours, a man could be put to death at the federal prison in Terre Haute. Tonight, the Department of Justice won an appeal allowing the first federal execution in 17 years to move forward tomorrow. Good evening and thank you for joining us. For more than a week now, we've told you about how federal executions are resuming. The last federal execution was in 2003. Just this evening, a federal appeals court ruled in favor of the Department of Justice. This means the execution can move forward as planned. The Department of Justice scheduled 3 executions for this week, the first happening tomorrow. Daniel Lewis Lee is set to die by lethal injection tomorrow afternoon. You'll remember Friday evening, a federal judge granted an injunction to halt the execution until the coronavirus pandemic is under control. This is because the family of Lee's victims argue they have the right to be there for the execution, but doing so puts them in danger. The DOJ filed an emergency motion Saturday claiming the work to prepare for Monday's execution had already been done and cannot be easily undone. The DOJ won that appeal. Now the family plans to take the case to the Supreme Court. 2 other executions are set for Wednesday and Friday. News 10's Richard Solomon spoke with those who live near the federal prison to learn more about how they'll be impacted by executions resuming this week. He is live in Terre Haute with their reaction. Richard.
Heather, the federal prison sits right across the street from many homes. Earlier today, I spoke with people who live in this area. Some told me these men deserve the death penalty for what they did, while others say their lives should be spared. Across the street from the federal prison is home to many. Charles Greenwell and his family have lived in this area for the last 30 years.
If you know for a fact that they're guilty, they're guilty. Everybody's got rights, everybody's got life, but these people took life.
He told me he thinks the death penalty should stand for people who commit unspeakable crimes. Greenwell says he remembers the Timothy McVeigh execution. That execution brought people from all over. He doesn't expect any future executions to gain that much attention. But Greenwell says this is the fate that these men chose.
When you take somebody's life, you ought to just expect it yourself.
But not everyone in the area feels that way.
I just believe in the sanctity of life.
Joji Ambergy says it's against her Catholic faith to believe in the death penalty. She believes man doesn't have the right to take life for a life.
Staying in prison for the rest of their life, and that's enough punishment. People dying by the hands of God.
People who live here say they'll be keeping a close eye on these executions, just like many across the nation. Reporting live in Terre Haute, Richard Solomon, News 10. Heather?
The Department of Justice shared this plan in regard to protesting with us earlier this week. Those for capital punishment will meet at Voorhees Park. Those against capital punishment will meet at the fairgrounds. Processing for demonstrators starts at noon. No one will be processed after 1:30 p.m. The demonstrators will be bused to the correctional facility. Officials will give everyone a mask during processing. Demonstrators are subject to COVID-19 screening, including a temperature check. Officials could remove violators. Extra Vigo County Sheriff's deputies will also be out tomorrow. We spoke with Sheriff John Plassey. He says State Road 63 near the prison will be closed for hours before and after the execution. Those deputies will be working to make sure protesters stay safe. Now, of course, this is an evolving situation. News 10 is working around the clock to provide you the very latest information. You can always find more at WTHI-TV.com.